Okay guys, I'm Becca. I am here with Jessie Seitz and Marcus Koch. They are the creators of Beyond Horror, a new documentary about extreme horror. We look like we're on the set of Today's Show. Somebody's going to come up with a sign here in a second. But we are at the Nightmares Film Festival, and they had their world premiere today. Yes. So they are a little more relaxed now because they don't have to sit around like expectant parents.
Yeah.
So how do you feel the reception was for it?
Oh, it's been like really great. Like we've like really appreciated the feedback that we've gotten from everybody. We were actually expecting like a little bit more negative stuff given the harsh subject matter that we're taking on, but so far everyone's had like really positive like suggestions and things to say about it. So
yeah, and
like,
this is the crowd to show this to. So extreme horror, if you don't know, is going well beyond what we would normally think of as like the worst of the worst. So
Saw and Hostel are like Disney films compared to some of the rest of the stuff out there.
And a lot of it is shown within the film itself. So when you were doing your research, how did you come up with the films? And by the way, I need to get that list that you have at the very end. I was thinking that the whole time. I was like, I need to know all the movies that you guys had clips from, and at the very end it scrolls through all of them.
So developing the list, a lot of it is something that either like Marcus and I already had in our collection, which we were lucky for, and then we like tried to like dive in a little bit more and just like asking people like, okay, like what is the most like messed up thing that you have ever seen, and then sort of like rewinding, and like we found like new movies there. We're like, wow, there's some sick stuff out there.
Yeah. And you got a lot of people. I'll plug some of our friends, Cameron and Patty. Cameron and Patty Scott did not know they were going to be in there. The most shocking thing in this to me is how much of a weenie Mr. Parka has become on movies. Sorry, Dave. I was like, what the heck? You know, he just kept talking about there's certain things now he just can't watch. I'm like, really? That's your job. But you also had some big directors. You had Stephen Biro from Unearthed Films. And then also Fred Vogel. What was the biggest insight that those people could give to you for that? So they are the ones who are the creators and sort of the godfathers of this kind of thing, at least in the modern.
Yes.
With Fred, without like giving like too much away, Fred's like personal stories that he had like with it. Because like with all the filmmakers, like, you know, we've been asking them, oh, have you ever suffered like any kind of like repercussions for your work? You know, expecting like, okay, maybe somebody like had an awkward situation at their job or something like that for like creating these films. And then the stuff that Fred shared with us was like actually truly heartbreaking. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing how he was able to put those things like into perspective, you know, because I think as a filmmaker, you know, you're not doing this to make like bad things happen. You're like responding to the bad things.
Right.
And he's had some very negative things that directly relate to his movies.
Right.
And that just really like threw me. And I thought it was a really great insight and was not expecting it.
And then their names are escaping me. The couple.
James and Maybell.
James Bell.
Yeah.
Right. So they basically had Child Protective Services raid their home because their child was in one of their movies. Yeah, like a very like extreme,
serious
like
stuff.
sit your ass on the couch, you know.
Yeah, and they
kind of raiding their house type of thing, which that to me was really shocking in this day and age that can happen. Is crazy.
Well, and then it's like, on one hand, you know, you can like understand like people are trying to make sure you're not like actually, you know, but also it's like just like a little, you know, 5-minute search, you would have understood like what those like movies like actually like were. You know?
Like you said, it was available online. They could have actually bought the movie from him on his website.
So it wasn't like he was like trying to hide it, you know. But I mean, the repercussions for these films are very real, and I don't think like a lot of people, and I don't most certainly didn't like quite like appreciate like how real your life can be impacted just for making this art. I mean, we had to sign non-disclosure agreements for two of the directors.
I was going to say, Lucifer Valentine did an audio interview, and I'm assuming because he does not want to be on camera, and he had already talked about some of the things, some of the repercussions that he had. And I know he wasn't included in this, but I know you said Mary and Dora was also, he can't be on screen.
Because of like what they do like in the real world. You know, so it's pretty crazy like to think about that, you know, that how some of these people, the content of these films is just like so crazy that like their lives could be ruined if people knew they were affiliated with it.
Right, but the fact that people can't differentiate either, like that kind of kills me. I mean, I know effects. I mean, you guys are effects people, so when we talked about this Horror Hound or Days of the Dead, that you guys can look at that and be like, Oh no, that's
not
definitely
real.
that's not real. Like you can totally, but even some of the stuff, some of the older stuff, just because of how scratched up and everything it is, it's
makes
like
it harder to tell.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if that's
and that's why like the guinea pig films, like when they first came out and passed around on bootlegs that were like 10th generation,
Right.
you couldn't tell. I mean, you could see what was going on, but you couldn't see how well. That this is effects work. It's just like, oh shit, is this someone being really cut up on camera and like, what is it? And that's what lent to its notoriety.
Right, and these are people who don't show up in a bunch of different movies either.
Yeah.
It's sort of like if Blair Witch was there, and then like we never saw those people in another movie or another TV show again. There'd still be that question.
Yeah.
If
Did
they were
that
still
really
alive,
happen?
and that's the way a lot of these people are, because they're just kind of one shot actors and doing kind of crazy stuff. But
Yeah, and I think that the one-shot actor, that's like such a good point, that these actors are like don't like reappear in a lot. And I think that it works obviously for the film, right? Because it's very
Right.
effective. But I think it also like works for the actor themselves. I feel like that sometimes they just want to get it all out in one performance. And so you get this like genuine, like they're not worried about winning an Academy Award
Right.
down the road,
Right.
like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I'm just gonna like let it rip, and they pull that
Just go
Band-Aid
crazy.
off and like give this crazy performance that I don't think you would necessarily always see from somebody who is like, oh, I want to continue
Yeah.
to act.
Right. So one of the things that you said in the documentary itself that was really insightful, and this is something that I've argued very often, is that we watch, read, and listen to things that help us with things that we've gone through. So sometimes just confronting something like head on is the best way to do it. And even Patty Scott, who is a clinical psychologist, that's exactly what she said. That like that is even like kind of an immersion therapy of just like really just kind of like hitting it over and over and over to the point where it's not scary anymore. And that's what these films do. But I liked how you were saying that a lot of people will look at it and kind of like maybe think these are misogynistic or whatever, but just remember those actresses also, they're willing participants, and they have something they need to let loose as well. And and I think that's pretty much key. I mean, that's yeah. So, I mean, do you want to speak to that a little bit more? Because you're more eloquent than I am on it.
Oh yeah, no, it's like such a
Bloody Marys into the afternoon.
Yeah, I hear you, girl. Me too. No, it was like one of those things where I used the example in the documentary, but like you take like something like the TV show Sex and the City, and it's supposed to be like woman positive, but then when you really like examine it, you're like, wow, what is this show actually about? It's about a group of women who are beautiful, highly successful, but yet they're still like lives are ruined when like a boy doesn't call them back.
Right. It's this like unattainable reality, and you also mentioned Friends. I'm with you. You were mentioning a lot of different '90s TV shows, all these things that had these unattainable realities as far as their lives go. But even that unattainable reality is not enough.
Yeah, it's like it's not enough. It's not enough that you're literally
You gotta have a
Jennifer
boyfriend.
Aniston because like this science boy doesn't like you,
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's like really like kind of fucked up when you think about it. And I'm not saying like, oh, scourge that stuff from the earth, but like when you look at other films like Last House on the Left that are actually being like honest about like what life is and about like violence and about like overcoming violent things, you're like, okay, but which is really better, in terms of like, and I think a lot of these films get like pegged as misogynistic, and it's like really they're not. They're just honest, as opposed to like, oh, you can have it all and still not be enough,
And I think too, one of the things that sets these aside, and I'm sure there are exceptions to this, but that everybody has to kind of be all in. Like, it's not as if it's this movie where you're going to go show up on set for a day, and if you don't, you don't flub your lines, or if they don't like you, they can cut you. No, it's like they have to sign a lot of disclosures. Is that correct? Like a lot of different things are happening. Lucifer was saying that all of his actresses have a safe word, and said that is an actual demand that he has, that they all have a safe word on camera. I mean, this is like, when you're in, you're in. And
they
so
know what they're signing up for with him, and Lucifer's later films, like, the first one took him, finding actresses because they hadn't seen what he'd done. And then, like, after he'd done that, then he was barraged with all these, like, women, like, I want to be in one of your films.
Right. There's something very freeing to all that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it like goes back into, and I think for actresses, as an actress who's been myself, like, in more extreme films, there is like this I don't know, when you're on camera, I think, oh, you have to be perfect and you have to be like
Right.
all of this and all of that. And then when you're in these types of movies, you're right, it's incredibly freeing because you're just like, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. You know?
Right, exactly. So, you guys are doing an extended cut, which as I was watching this, I was like, when am I going to get my extended cut? I know you're still working on it, but yes, but there was a particular backer perk where you could get the like major, all their stuff kind of thing. Now I'm like craving it, you know, and I texted Slade Shepherd too, and now he's like, well, when are they coming out with the extended cut too? So when is all of that coming out? I know you're making the rounds here in the festivals.
Yeah, so we actually, the extended cut for the backers and everything will be out in June of 2020.
Just in time for my birthday.
Yeah,
here we go.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And then we actually are looking at like several different options. So we have to be like a little bit vague about it for right now. But basically, we have a ton of material, and we're still interviewing people. So there could be a few different ways like we actually like go about it. So everyone, unfortunately, who didn't like contribute to the campaign might have to wait a little longer.
Yeah.
So you will definitely be one of the few that like, gets a copy. But yeah, we have some cool things coming up. But basically, there's so much material and there's so many stories to collect. We want to make sure that we do that justified. You know,
Right.
This cut, you know, it's only an 80-minute cut.
Right.
You know, there's still more interviews, obviously, that we're collecting. And it's just, I mean, it's so much content, we could literally break this down and every year come out with a new volume and just kind of build onto it and explore a different direction.
Not a
like,
bad
could we
idea.
get, you know, because Japan's got a whole wide variety of
Right.
banana
You guys didn't even
stuff
like
to see.
barely even hit like
Yeah.
German splatter.
German splatter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different directions we can, you know, take it and talk to people. But you know, for this version, you know, the screener version's a little more kind of pared down.
Right.
You know, because we didn't want to overstep. You know, you don't want to play a
Right.
4-hour documentary in a film festival
Right.
because
Because
stepping
everybody's
on
going to
other
have to
people's
get up and go
toes.
get their Bloody Mary from the bar about halfway
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
the lovely,
So-
and they hook up here with the Bloody
But yeah. So we're gonna definitely release like an extended cut with a second disc with like, you know, we're gonna pick some key directors and let their interviews play out in entirety, so you can
Right.
hear
Like kind of more unedited.
more in depth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. So what, for both of you, so I'll start with Marcus, what was the most eye-opening thing that you learned in your research and interviews?
Cool. Definitely like the backlash some of the filmmakers, you know, get. Because I mean, I hadn't heard some of these stories before, and so it was kind of like eye-opening. You know, I mean, because I take everything like from a special effects side of view. That's why I got into this, and it's like why I do what I do, and you know, and to me, nothing's taboo. Like, you know, oh, hey, we're gonna, you know, cut off this person's head and have sex with their corpse. Like, it's
Right.
Like
it's because it's not real.
It's not real, so it doesn't like phase me.
Yeah.
Like, but I've never suffered any kind of backlash.
Right.
You know, like that anyway. You know, I've
Right.
had some
Or not
people
yet.
say,
Maybe you
yeah.
guys would be so
I mean, I've had
successful
some
with this,
people
maybe
say
you
like,
get
well,
hate mail.
he should, you know, quit making films and just go back to a day job. Like, I've heard that.
Yeah.
You know, but what filmmaker hasn't? You're always
Yeah.
gonna have haters, but. Yeah, like I couldn't imagine going through some of the things that, you know, James Bell and May Bell have went through, and Fred Vogel has gone through.
Yeah, like
you
real,
know,
actual
real-
life experience, like things that actually affect them and not just their careers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. And I mean, and you would expect, I think they all said, yeah, you know, I knew I was going to get hate mail, death threats, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the usual stuff, but, you know.
Par for the course, you know.
Right. Yeah, like you have to know you're gonna be stirring the pot a little bit when you make some of these movies.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's never one movie that everyone just unanimously loves. Like,
Right.
no matter what.
Right.
You know, and as a filmmaker, you have
Like
to
there are
just
some people
surrender.
right there like saying they're dissing Friends right now, and they're like
Yeah.
looking at us with dagger eyes.
No, don't attack the friends,
Yeah.
you know, like, and everything. For me, what I was actually surprised by is how polarized people are on the subject in general. Meaning that they either have seen the films and they love them, or they have not watched them at all. Like
Right. Nobody dabbles.
Yeah, nobody dabbles, and we actually have been having a problem finding a critical dissenting opinion. You know, there's a lot of people who don't like these types of movies, but we don't want to just like bring someone into the documentary that's never really watched them, and it's just like kind
Right.
of
Who
like,
just already has
they're-
this preconceived notion. They're just like, well, these movies are
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, this is
you know.
garbage.
So
you know?
yeah, so that's been a hard
It's
one to find.
yeah,
you know,
like-
Right.
to round things out because
Yeah.
yeah, people have either seen them and like love them, or seen them, or indifferent to them, or haven't seen them and hate them.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, oh, who do we talk to?
Yeah, so that was kind of like really interesting because I thought there'd be like a lot more people who had like watched it, you know, and then not, and have something like very like good critique, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I was a little like shocked by that, you know, how hard it was. I was like, wow, like this is like a really, like there's no middle ground hardly at all, like with these films.
Because it's not fair to like interview someone who hasn't seen it but already knows some stuff.
Right.
About it, like they hear of Serbian film and they're like, I would never watch Serbian
that.
film.
Right, and then that's not really. I mean, that's exactly it. Like you can say what your opinion is on why you wouldn't, but you can't say anything about the movie.
Yeah.
Just like you can't bitch if you don't vote. You can't diss a Serbian film if you don't watch it.
That filmmaker is sick. Well, I mean, because they don't realize they hear about certain things, and in their head, that's what the film is about, and that has nothing to do with the film. That's like a moment in time that, you know, changes a plot point. Like it's like, oh shit, things got worse, and you know, but the film is not about that. And people who haven't seen the film, they don't register that. They hear that one thing and that's what they latch onto, and they're like, nope, I'm not gonna watch it.
I'm out. So with the interviews that you guys are still compiling, are you considering getting more like of the actor perspective?
Yes, we have like a lot of actually actors that we want to reach out to that hopefully, and that we just haven't had an opportunity to interview yet. Actually, one of them, I don't like to say who we're interviewing until it's actually in the bag. But actually, this weekend we're interviewing someone who has like both directed and acted, specifically like in extreme cinema, to get like their perspective like on that stuff.
Right.
And that was a perspective that was missing. And then we also just we need to widen like our reach out to the demographic, like, you know, populace. It's pretty overwhelmingly like white centric in this like scene. And as we dive deeper into these films, we really want to like explore that, you know.
Right.
So that's something that we need to.
Well,
work
and
on
now maybe you can. Now you'll have that domino effect because obviously it's an international thing. I think more than a lot of genres. I think this is well-rounded internationally.
Yeah, worldwide.
Especially European, Asian, like you said, and those people. And the fact that the American ones still have to kind of hide in the shadows. You can imagine how I can't even imagine how hard it would be to get, you know, like find a foreign director who's hiding out.
Who's like hiding out in there and like getting that. So that's definitely something we want to reach out and make sure we're really like covering like everyone, you know, who has like a really good like opinion about the scene. Like that's our thing. Like, you know, it's like you can hate these movies, you can love these movies, but like having like
but just have an actual opinion, not just a gut reaction. Right?
Yeah. And the same time, you know, we're not interviewing even like fans who are just like, oh, I just love it because I'm a person and I'm edgy, you know, like I'm not interested in
Oh wait, no, what did Stephen Byro say? Edgelords. That cracked me up.
No edgelords in this document.
No edgelords.
And Steven's seen so much, so he's kind of like the jaded, you know, perspective. He's seen it all.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, man, it takes a lot to impress him.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too. Steven does it all. I mean, he does distribution, he's directed, whatever. Yeah, he's kind of like the old guy who sits there and like, whatever. You kids don't know nothing.
He's like, look, I've seen some shit.
Yes. So, and recently these two got married.
Oh yeah, we got married.
yes. Rather unexpectedly, which is awesome. So congratulations on the film. And so yeah, when you have Volume 2 come out, hit me up. We'll talk.
Cool.
Oh yeah. You'll be like one of the first to see it.
Okay, good. You heard it here first. Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nominees Best Director Feature. Here are the nominees. An august assemblage. And your winner is Jessie Seitz and Marcus Koch. Our documentary film this year.
Nice.
It's like a triple Wendy. Congrats.
So
Triple
awesome.
Wendy. Triple Wendy. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. So just like a little bit of background about this. This project was not near completion, and we were just like, hey, we really want to show it at Nightmares. Will you please just like be patient with us? And they were patient with us, and we got to just worked our butts off for 3 weeks and got the cut ready for you guys. So it meant a lot to play here, and this really means a whole lot. We really wanted to have this be our world premiere, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.